I agree with the current president that, quote, everyone must condemn, end quote, this shooting. We need to condemn and deplore and denunciate and decry this kind of violence. Whatever we think of our political opponents, whatever we think of people who disagree with us, whatever separates and divides members of our community, whether that community is the United States or Connecticut or Southbury or this corner, we must disagree in good faith. We must disagree with love for our neighbors. We must disagree with a sincere attempt to understand what others care about and why they care about it, with a determination to stand in their shoes and see their life through their eyes. And we must disagree without fighting or violence. If it's okay to shoot at a Republican candidate, then it's okay to shoot at a Democratic candidate. It's okay to shoot at me, sitting here. This is not the America that we want. And we have to speak up and lean in and oppose any effort to make that the America that we're going to live in. So I wish the former president well in his recovery, and I hope that some good can come from this. Thanks. Whether that good that comes from this involves guns or rhetoric, and I hope that we can be guided by the better angels of our nature. M. Scott Peck said, "It is in this whole process of meeting and solving problems that life has its meaning. Problems are the cutting edge that distinguishes between success and failure. Problems call forth our courage and our wisdom. It is only because of problems that we grow mentally and spiritually." So what comes next out of this assassination attempt depends really on the words and the actions of our leaders and their followers. So first, a word about guns. In a country where the debate is less about whether people should own guns and what kinds of guns they should own, and it's more about whether you should carry your guns openly or you have to hide them in a bag, in a part of a country where everyone owns guns, from deer hunters to hobbyists to troubled 20-year-olds with an AR-15, it's not surprising that someone in Western Pennsylvania could get himself on a roof 400 feet from a president without anyone noticing or caring. I think if somebody walked around here with a rifle, we would see that. And if you think about it, you know, the roof right over there is probably about the same distance. You'd think somebody would have noticed. But partly, a man walking around with a gun in Pennsylvania is just not noteworthy. This was less about the gun, but maybe even less about whatever motivated the young man. It's more about the climate crisis in this country. And it's not the crisis of climate change that I'm talking about. It's the crisis of an era of hate. Deep hate, spoken hate, proud hate, hate shouted, hate tweeted, hate on flags, hate on cars, and hate all over social media. And this hate can be found on both sides. We don't need to count the incidents in order to apportion the fault. A Republican congressman gets shot at a baseball game. The husband of a Democratic Speaker of the House gets attacked in his own house. And what happens? Most people say that's awful. Some people say, yeah, I want more of that. That's funny. That's great. That's our team against their team. One of the things that I do often in representing people in divorces is caution them about how judges deal with people who speak inappropriately and unreasonably. So my client will tell me, well, look at his awful tweets. Look at these terrible things he says about me. These 19 awful, awful things he says about me. I say, that's awful. I want to show the judge this. And then I get to the next page. I get to after the 19, and then there's her saying, or him saying, something awful. And I say, well, I can't show this to the judge. Yes, you can. He was awful 19. I was only awful once. I said, no, we're going to go in front of a judge. And in front of a judge, the judge isn't going to say, well, who was more awful? The judge is going to say, you're both awful. Cut it out and grow up. So we get judged and should be judged by what we say and do. You don't often hear me say this, but the former president issued a post yesterday that I agree with. He said, quote, "In this moment, it is more important than ever that we stand united and show our true character as Americans, remaining strong and determined and not allowing evil to win," end quote. Of course, the key is that last phrase, not allowing evil to win. Is evil a murderous young man, so as you would assume from the quote if you had no context or no background? Or is evil something different in that quote? If you believe that the state of our country is American carnage, that your political opponents are vermin, that immigrants are animals, and if you predict a bloodbath if you don't win an election, well then, do your healing words from a hospital about not allowing evil to win mean that we should applaud in solidarity or shake our heads at an effort to turn tragedy into votes or financial contributions? Already, an Ohio senator who hopes to become the vice president said the shooting was caused by rhetoric from the opposing campaign. Already, a South Carolina senator who hopes to become the next vice president said, let's be clear, this was an assassination attempt aided and abetted by the radical left and corporate media. Already, the top advisor to the shooting victims campaign tweeted, quote, well, of course they tried to keep him off the ballot, they tried to put him in jail, and now you see this. Already, a Georgia representative tweeted that, quote, the Republican district attorney in Butler County, Pennsylvania should immediately file charges against Joe Biden for inciting an assassination, end quote. Already another Georgia representative said, quote, the Democrats and the media are to blame for every drop of blood spilled today, end quote. These are leaders, and leaders have followers, many of whom are devoted, and some of whom are both devoted and dangerous. And don't think I'm just pointing a finger. Go back to what I said about the husband and wife texting in that cycle of you suck, no, you suck worse, no, you suck even worser. Last night I saw on Facebook and other social media terrible posts from both sides in the midst of all the sympathetic posts from a lot of people with open minds who said a man was shot and that shouldn't happen. But there were a lot of terrible posts. From one side, there were horrible comments about better aim. There were horrible jokes, and I couldn't help myself. Even for a group that I respect, someone posted something that was just a terrible pun. And I responded, stop and think of what they would say if our guy was shot. We can do better. So from one side, we hear horrible comments about what happened, and from the other side, we are, of course, already seeing contrast photos of one candidate at the debate looking old and dazed, and the other candidate raising his fist with blood on his face. Look at our guy versus your guy. And none of us will be shocked when yesterday's photographs become monetized. So I was pleased to hear this sentiment from one party's committee this morning, the party that is not the party of the person who was shot. The quote was, quote, political violence like this sacrifices everything we and generations have worked so hard to build in our country. It puts at risk everything we want for ourselves and to leave our children, end quote. And I will be listening very carefully for healing words rather than demonizing words at the other party's convention starting tomorrow. So these are just my own preliminary thoughts about what happened yesterday and what it means in a larger context. With hope for the future, I will look for light in the darkness, but with a grasp of the reality of our present, I'm not confident I will find it. So here at least, let's renew our resolve to be guided by our vision of a more fair and kind community for all, and our constant reminder to love our neighbor and take that approach to this as we do to everything else. Thanks.